Today we've got a story about OP lying to their daughter and telling them that their pet died, but they hadn't actually. It's a pretty big freak up and we'll get to it shortly, but first, today I freaked up by getting stuck in a chair at my friend's house. A few months ago, a good friend of mine invited me over for dinner. We hadn't hung out in a while and I was excited to catch up. At first, I felt so welcomed and happy until I saw the chairs. They were nice wooden dining chairs with armrests, the kind that look elegant but don't leave much wiggle room. When it was time to sit down, I noticed immediately that the space between the armrests looked far too narrow for an obese woman like me. I hesitated but told myself not to make a big deal about it. I tried to sit down normally, but it was very snug. I shuffled my hips, leaned forward, gave a small wiggle, and then, with one firm shove, I managed to squeeze myself in. It wasn't the most graceful move, but I got in. The evening went on perfectly. Great food, lots of laughter, and I almost forgot about the tight fit. But when I tried to push myself up, I felt resistance. I tried leaning forward and lifting. No luck. I tried again, this time wiggling a little, but I was still stuck. My heart sank. My friend was still chatting away, and I was doing everything I could to keep it discreet. I pressed down on the armrest with my hands, lifted with all my strength, twisted side to side. The chair wouldn't budge. I was sweating, my face was burning red, and my movements were getting more frantic. Eventually, I managed to stand, and I gripped the armrest and pushed downward with all my strength. I twisted my torso and, rocking back and forth, it was so painfully public, too. Everyone around me was staring. My face felt like it was on fire. When I finally managed to push it off my bum, it hit the floor with a loud clang. Everyone around glanced over, and I immediately turned around and gasped. I didn't even realize how big I had gotten until that experience. I made it through the rest of the evening, but when I got home, I just sat on my bed and cried from humiliation. But luckily I can look back and laugh now. Yeah, this isn't funny, this is sad. Sorry that OP had to experience this, be a part of this. Embarrassing experience, but yeah, at least you can kind of look back on it now and laugh. But no, that's kind of heartbreaking. Opal Rhythms replied, "Honestly, you handled that way better than most people would. I'd have just accepted my new life as part of the chair. Glad you can laugh about it now. That's peak today I freaked up energy out there." Also, what's up everybody, my name is Brendan, and if you guys enjoy these Today I Freaked Up videos, it would be amazing if you liked the video or commented down below if you're listening to our podcast. Now then, our next story is, Today I Freaked Up by oversleeping my first flight ever. Never have flown before and missed my first flight in my whole life. I almost never oversleep, and one in a year is today, which is the worst part. So my friends and I wanted to go on a mini 4-day vacation and decided on a destination that needs flying to since it's an island. Me, who'd never flown till this day, was very excited, so yeah, let's go. Flight in the morning hours, and me, an idiot, said, let's get an hour of sleep in, but yeah, didn't hear any of my alarms. Friends couldn't reach my phone because I have no reception in my room. When I woke up, it was an hour to my check-in time, and I live 2 hours away from the airport. I tried everything, but in the end decided to book another flight, which is one 24 hours later. Now I'm sitting in my living room and disappointed in myself while imagining my friends on their flight. Yeah, you know what, OP, what's done is done. Take the lemons and turn it into some lemonade. Focus on what you can control, and you can still salvage this trip. Glitter Bonanza commented, "My sister has missed countless flights in her life, and I have, severe late anxiety. So if I missed it, I'd be having an absolute breakdown. But it's okay. You booked another flight. It's expensive, but it's a lesson. And hopefully any future flights, you'll have learned from this experience. I hope you make your flight this time and have a great time. You'll still get there, and it will be a funny anecdote later." OP replied to this, "Believe me, I had a breakdown as well, the second I woke up and realized what happened. Hate when I mess up, especially when it affects other people, because I feel like I let them down. I'm the kind of person that thinks they think of me less when I do, even though I know it's not true. So yeah, expensive mistake that will make the person that will be at the airport hours before every flight in the future. This will be scarred in my mind forever, but also, fun story I'll tell my grandchildren. Our next story is, Today I freaked up by twisting my ankle before an interview. Today was my final round interview for a graduate program. 10 minutes before, my computer was still updating and I was already stressed. With 5 minutes left, I realized I didn't have my water. I sip water while the interviewer talks at least once during the interview, so I have an extra moment to gather my thoughts. I ran downstairs, landed wrong, and twisted my ankle with a loud crack. Then cue the tears, panic, and a small breakdown as I realized I had 2 flights of stairs to climb before my interview even started. I somehow pulled myself together, grabbed the water, and hauled myself upstairs using mostly my arms, and made it back to my desk with 2 minutes to spare. The interview itself went okay, some highlights and some moments that weren't so coherent. Hey, it happens. At least you still made it to the interview. Hope you're okay and hope you got the job. Our next story is: today I freaked up by taking pre-workout at night. Recently started working out and bought some protein powder. It came with a free sample of pre-workout, which I assumed was just an electrolyte drink with vitamins. Took it at 8 p.m. before my workout and then couldn't sleep until 4 a.m. Turns out it's got 300 milligrams of caffeine, and I don't drink coffee, so no surprise there. Annoying that it's not shown in the front of the packaging, but I've learned my lesson and won't be using it ever again. The worst part is I got maybe 3 hours of sleep, and I'm supposed to go for a job interview today. So I don't think that's going to go well since I feel both tired and still buzzing on caffeine a little bit. Apparently I haven't written enough. This was the product Performance Pre-X Extreme Pre-Workout Complex. Grape, 1 pound, 435 grams. Look, I love pre-workout, but I also work out in the morning, so I cannot imagine taking 300 millis of caffeine before a night workout and then trying to crash out shortly thereafter. That sounds terrible. Quercus Symbunkus commented, I had some dental work done and they told me I shouldn't eat anything for a while, but protein shakes were okay. So I made myself a nice shake with some protein powder my wife bought me a while back. I forgot that she's not always so great at reading labels and just noticed it said something about clean energy or something. Pretty tasty, blended with some frozen berries and juice. Down the hatch. Apparently, clean energy means tons of caffeine. So now I had a toothache, was wired from the caffeine, and that caffeinated protein shake also gave me the trots. 3 out of 10, would not recommend. Our next story is: today I freaked out by leaving a floating turd at my date's place. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and I still feel my soul leave my body every time I think about it. So, picture this. I was at my new girlfriend's apartment for dinner. Things were going perfectly. We'd cooked together, shared some beer, and were laughing about everything. You know that stage where you're still pretending to be the best version of yourself? That was me. Then, halfway through a movie, my stomach decided to betray me. Not politely. Not with a gentle hint. It went full Batista, go now or regret it forever. I excused myself as casually as I could and went to the bathroom. Now, this wasn't anything catastrophic. No clogged pipes, no dramatic explosion, just a very normal, very unremarkable bathroom break. At least, that's what I thought. I did my business, wiped, washed my hands, and hit the flush. Except, when the water settled, there it was. A lone floater, more like a lone wolf, staring me in the eye for a duel. I flushed again, same result. The water swirled around dramatically, but when it cleared, still there. My enemy, my shame, my unexpected creation. I flushed a third time, and by this point, I was starting to panic. This turd wasn't just floating, it was thriving. The dang thing had the density of a pool noodle. It wasn't going anywhere. And now, time was ticking. I'd already been gone longer than I should have. If I stayed too much longer, she'd wonder what on earth I was doing. But I couldn't just leave it there. Imagine the horror of her walking in after me, seeing the floater, and instantly knowing what I'd been up to. Relationship, dead. Reputation, destroyed. So I went into X-ray mode. I scanned the bathroom for tools. Toilet brush, nope. Plunger, nope. Air freshener, yes, but that didn't solve the central problem. The only option was to try to manually intervene. I grabbed some toilet paper, folded it into layers thick enough to feel like a hazmat suit, and went fishing. I thought maybe if I nudged it, it would finally cooperate and go down. Nope, it just swirled and came right back up, like some cursed brown rubber ducky. So, in my moment of peak panic and stupidity, I wrapped it in more toilet paper, scooped it out, and placed it gently into the bathroom trash can like I was laying a fallen soldier to rest. Then I buried it under some tissues and prayed she'd never notice. I washed my hands like a surgeon about to perform heart surgery, splashed water on my face, and walked back out trying to look casual. She smiled at me, asked if I was okay, and I said something stupid like, yeah, just washing my hands really well. I thought I was safe. Fast forward to the next morning. She texted me, so, did you throw something weird in my bathroom trash? My heart stopped. Apparently, her cat had gotten curious and knocked over the trash can after I left. She found the suspiciously heavy toilet paper wrapped package on the floor. She opened it, and she knew. I had no defense, no excuse, no way out. I admitted everything in a haze of shame. She laughed so hard she cried and said, "You could have just left it. That's what bathrooms are for." To this day, she teases me about it. Every time we're at her place and I get up to use the bathroom, she calls out, "Good luck sinking it this time." I will never live this down. Well, look, OP, you, me, everyone reading this post, everyone listening to this video right now, poops. We all poop. Who cares? I don't understand why people are so ashamed by this, especially a girlfriend that is taking it in stride. She is awesome. Don't let it break you down. Our next story is, today I freaked up by trying to impress my girlfriend's parents. My first dinner at my girlfriend's parents' house, and I was desperate to make a good impression. I thought I'd bring a nice bottle of wine. I don't know anything about wine, so I just picked one with a cool label. Her dad opens it, swirls it around like he's auditioning for a some liar competition, and says, "Oh wow, this is interesting." I proudly told him, "Yeah, I picked it because the label was cool." Everyone chuckled. Then her mom actually took a sip and coughed. She asked if it was supposed to taste so salty. Turns out I had bought cooking wine, and not even good cooking wine, the $3 kind people use for pasta sauce. So instead of pairing wine with dinner, we drank water while I wanted to crawl under the table and disappear. Yeah, this one's on Mom. I mean, why would you not read the label and at least see what you're drinking before drinking it? Even if you think it's wine, you kind of want to know, is it going to be smooth, sweet, dry? I mean, I would like to know these things before I have a sip of wine. Sailor Chibi replied, "So you only paid $3 for it and thought it would be a nice bottle? Do you know anything about alcohol at all? I don't drink, but even I know a nice bottle is usually $20 plus." Our next story is, today I freaked up by going to the wrong movie theater and accidentally trying to put my arm around a stranger while my date thought I disappeared. This happened a couple years ago and I'm still cringing about it. So I'd been on 4 to 5 dates with this girl, let's call her Maya, who I met through our mom's WhatsApp group, classic Indian parent setup. Things felt platonic, and she actually said she wanted to be friends, but I still had feelings for her. I invited her to see The Batman with 2 of my friends she'd never met. Important context, I had a broken ankle from dancing too enthusiastically at a wedding. We get to the theater, and I'm sitting next to Maya. She's being flirty, getting close, and giving me vibes, and I'm getting nervous and excited. I need a moment to process, so I tell everyone I'm getting popcorn. I come back 10 minutes later. The theater is pitch black. Movie started. I remember my seat number, count over, see a girl sitting there wearing similar mosaic-style earrings, and sit down next to her. I'm trying to follow the plot, but Batman makes no sense. Feeling bold, I try to put my arm around Maya. She pulls away. Hard. 45 minutes later, I realize I'm in the wrong theater watching a Batman showing that started 2 hours ago. I have a tendency to take the no phones rule really seriously in a theater, so I try not to bring it out when a movie plays, but this time I looked directly at the guy next to me and he definitely was not my friend. I check my phone and see about 10 missed calls and a barrage of unread texts. I do my best to sprint out of that theater with a cast on. I'm so sorry to the random person whose foot I stepped on, and immediately see Maya and my 2 friends walking into my theater. Turns out, when I didn't come back, they panicked. They searched the entire theater. She even made my friends crawl on all fours checking under seats, thinking I'd collapsed with my broken ankle. One friend even found my dad on LinkedIn to ask if he knew where I was. Finally, they got the theater manager to pull CCTV footage and found me wandering into the wrong theater like an idiot. The girl I tried to put my arm around? A complete stranger who was probably terrified some random guy was hitting on her in the dark. I was mortified. I'd left this girl alone with my friend she'd never met, disappeared for 45 minutes, and accidentally hit on someone else. I was sure I'd blown any chance I'd ever had. After the world's most awkward movie experience, I offered to drive her home. She was quiet the whole ride, and I was preparing for the worst. Right before we got to her apartment, she asked me to pull over. "I need to tell you something," she said, and my heart sank. I was ready for her to tell me she never wanted to see me again, which honestly I would have completely understood. Instead, she said, "I really like you." I was floored. What kind of woman likes a guy who disappears into the wrong movie theater and accidentally hits on strangers? I realized I had someone really special on my hands. Either that or someone with some problems. Update: that conversation in the car was when we officially started dating again. 2 years later, we're married and she's truly the love of my life. She still brings this story up at parties. Hooray for the happy ending. Tau Dragons also added, I had a similar experience. Walked up behind a woman and put my arms around her thinking it was my wife. It was not. It was one of the comedians we were there to see. I got roasted and my wife nearly died laughing. Our next story is, today I freaked up by unintentionally making my girlfriend's parents think I'm mentally handicapped during a family dinner. For context, I'm the guardian of my autistic sister. She masks very well in public to the point of passing being normal, but when she's not masking, she can look really bratty at best, and downright weird to other people at worst. I don't care, the goofball's my sister and I love her. Anyways, whenever I go on dates, she hangs out with friends she can trust to partially unmask with. But things came up for them, and this dinner I was invited to lined up with a time where her friends were all unavailable. I wanted to reschedule, but my girlfriend gave me a half apologetic, half worried look. This was with her parents, and her parents weren't the type to bend and reschedule unless I was in the hospital or something. I was already worried about meeting them before. I knew they weren't exactly the warm and fuzzies type of people from the stories she's told. They were very much a product of their time, to say the least. But if they wanted me to come, I'd have to bring my sister. My sister was fine with coming along. Well, until we actually got there. The three of us went, and my God, it was awkward. My girlfriend had already briefed them about my situation. They knew I was my sister's guardian, and they knew she was autistic. But what they didn't know was that autistic people can be functioning humans. When they introduced themselves to her, it was as if they were talking to a baby with their voices slow and high-pitched. My girlfriend cringed and reiterated to them that my sister isn't like the autistic kids they're thinking of. My sister even shocked them by awkwardly laughing and introducing herself normally. Apparently, my girlfriend has been trying to tell them for months that she can mask, but they didn't quite understand what that meant until literally now. Well, kind of. They still had their own idea of how an autistic person should act. Of course, neither me or my sister wanted to be rude, and we tried being polite, but man, was their assumptions grating. On top of interrogating me about my job, they kept bringing up that it's okay for my sister to unmask. Of course she didn't. She wasn't comfortable. She eventually excused herself, and I followed her. As we left, I overheard my girlfriend berating her parents for being so rude. We went outside, and I comforted my sister. She was not having a good time here and wanted to go home. I agreed, and to make her feel better, we joked about what she'd look like to them unmasking. And since both of us are meme crap posters, we pretended to be stereotypical autistic kids that my girlfriend's parents were definitely thinking of. The freak up. We kept up the act a bit too long, and my girlfriend and her dad walked out on us looking like idiots. Something clicked in his head, and he started giving me that stay away from my daughter vibe. I let him know that my sister wasn't feeling well and we were going to head out. He gruffly agreed, and before my girlfriend could come with us, her dad told her to stay. They had something to discuss. All my girlfriend could do was give me a "I'm so freaking sorry" look. The next day, me and my girlfriend met up, and she looked so done with life. Apparently, after me and my sister left, her family got into a huge argument about me dating her. Her parents are convinced that I was masking being autistic too, and that we shouldn't be dating. They didn't want to have grandkids like us. Not like that would be an issue for more reasons than one. Safe to say, I don't think I have her parents' blessing, and won't be anytime soon. Luckily, she doesn't really care and is on my side, but I would have liked to have been on her parents' good side before I popped the question with my girlfriend, even if I didn't have to interact with them. Oh, the good thing, OP, is that your girlfriend actually has a good head on her shoulders and is on your side. Screw the parents, forget what they think. They are prejudiced and discriminatory and just seem kind of mean, so yeah. No contact. I mean, that's obviously a decision for your girlfriend to make, but you don't have to deal with that. Dusty Nintendo replied, "You're a dang good brother, and your girlfriend seems very cool too. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't get on well with the partner's parents, but that's okay because you and your girl are all that matter in your relationship." Troubled Equator added, "Her parents were looking for a reason not to like him anyway. The act just gave them an excuse. Doesn't change the fact his girlfriend's still choosing him." Our next story is, Today, I freaked up by underestimating the body's ability to absorb caffeine through one's skin. I was bored on a Sunday since I had been sick and still didn't feel like I should be around other people. So I'd canceled plans with a friend that morning. I remembered last night reading about making Dorodango balls. To put it short and sweet, balls made of dirt and mud, and decided to make one because I was bored. I didn't really have good soil around, but I did have instant espresso powder. I heard you could absorb caffeine through your skin, so I was a bit concerned about that, but I was like, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure you can't absorb much. Well, I touched and handled instant espresso powder for around 2 hours straight with bare hands. It would stick to gloves, so I couldn't wear them. Apparently, you can absorb a decent amount of caffeine through your skin. I'm nauseous, anxious, shaky, I got brain zaps, and just in general feel like crap. Like I drank 10 cups of coffee. Well, sounds like lesson learned here, and thank you for sharing because you may have steered away anyone else potentially reading or listening to this from trying it, so thank you. Taino replied, you just reminded me of when I bought my friend caffeinated soap from ThinkGeek as a holiday gift our freshman year. Really dating myself here. He used it once and felt so distinctly not good afterwards, he threw it out. Our next story is, today I freaked up by making my world-class chef girlfriend the perfect toastie. This happened about a month ago, but I'm still processing the absurdity of it all, as I'm making her a toastie. So, my girlfriend is basically a goddess-tier chef. She's worked at restaurants that people literally book flights to visit. We're talking the kind of place where you need to make reservations months in advance. She once turned down a job offer some rating authorities consider one of the best restaurants in the world because she ate there as a customer first and decided their garden salad was uninspired and their wait staff were weird. When we moved in together, I quickly learned that despite being a decent cook myself, I was now living with someone who could probably make roadkill taste like Wagyu beef. She has opinions about salt types and doesn't want me touching her fancy cookware. I love cooking, but I'm not about to go to war with someone who makes me dishes with love hearts made of sauce. Reduction? Foam? So I gracefully stepped aside and let her handle the kitchen duties at home. Fast forward to last month. She's on her period, feeling like absolute garbage, and asked me to make her a tomato toastie. Grilled cheese for you Americans. Simple request, right? I figure I can't mess up butter, bread, tomato, and cheese, so I make her this completely basic toastie. Nothing fancy, just sourdough, some good aged cheddar, butter both sides, medium heat, flip once, standard stuff that literally any functioning adult should be able to do. She takes one bite and goes completely silent. I'm thinking I've somehow managed to offend her palate with my peasant-level toasty skills. Then she looks at me with genuine confusion and says, I can't make it this good. I laughed because I thought she was joking. This woman can do things with molecular gastronomy that would make Heston Blumenthal weep. She's forgotten more about food than I'll ever know. There's no way she can't make a better toastie than me. But here's where I freaked up. I was wrong. For the past month, she's been asking me to make her toasties almost every single day. Yesterday, she literally came home from work where she probably spent 12 hours creating culinary masterpieces that cost more per plate than most people's weekly groceries. And the first thing she said was, "Can you make me that toastie?" I've created a monster. This woman, who can taste soup and rattle off all the ingredients in it, can't figure out how to make melted cheese between bread as well as I can. The worst part? I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing differently. I've tried telling her my technique, but it's literally just making a toastie. There's no secret. I'm not doing anything special. But somehow my basic butt toasty game has broken the brain of someone who could probably cook circles around most professional chefs. Now I'm trapped in this weird situation where I'm too afraid to refuse because she gets genuinely excited about these toasties. But also, I'm pretty sure I've accidentally insulted her entire professional identity with my superior bread and cheese skills. The irony is not lost on me that the one thing I can cook better than her is something that requires literally no skill whatsoever. Yeah, honestly, I'm sensing a little sarcasm here. I think that your girlfriend is just being really, really nice and supportive of your attempts and wanting to build you up. Who knows? Those toasties might actually be as good as she says, but yeah, it just sounds like she's being a loving partner. Sailor Chibi replied, I think it's just love and attention. Even professional chefs enjoy having someone else cook for them. It just feels good to know someone cared enough to do so. Our next story is, today I freaked out by telling my daughters their pet had died when they hadn't. So, my daughters have a pet axolotl, kind of a cross between a fish and a salamander with external gills, and they came in to me from their playroom panicking as she was just floating in the water. So I went in and I saw it lying on the surface of the water, limp and just spinning in the current from the filter pumps. So I opened the tank and poked the axolotl. Nothing. I apologized to the kids, explained that it looked like she was dead. Cue tears, wailing, and just horrible times. Wife was out. After a few hours and planning what to do with the body, discussing with the girls that perhaps the axolotl may not just be the best pet due to all the care they take. My wife popped her head into the playroom, and the axolotl was there, walking along the bottom of the tank, looking for food, perfectly happy and healthy. Happy days. Apparently, this is just something axolotls do sometimes, except from the heartbreak the girls, and I, experienced. I wouldn't really call this a freak up. I mean, it sounds like the pet gave all the indications that it was no longer living, and so you didn't lie to your kids, you prepared them, you braced them realistically for the worst. No freak up. Noel G. Ward replied, I had a summer job in college and worked next to a family guy named Ken. He had a young son named Kenny. His kids had a pet hamster named Teddy. One afternoon, I'm sitting in my office when Ken answers his phone next door. The next thing I hear is the sound of Ken screaming, "What?" at full volume. Later on, we find out that his little daughter had called him. She was crying and said, "Teddy is dead." But with all the sobbing, Ken mistakenly thought she said, "Kenny is dead." Telling someone that a pet has died is bad, but it can always be made worse. Our next story is, today I freaked up by telling my coworker something that made him spiral. A week ago, my coworker, 32-year-old male, and I, 24-year-old male to female, were complaining about our bosses after each of us separately being scolded and mocked by our assistant supervisor and plant supervisor for supposedly not being good at our job after each of us had messed up in our own area. We were both floaters for a chair factory where I was standing in for our inspector and missed a minor defect, and he was gluing foam from some shells, and they were so lumpy you could see it through the fabric. During our complaining, I said, I don't get paid enough to deal with how my low mental health has been since starting here. He agreed and asked how much I made. When I answered, it turned out to be $3 an hour more than him. He brought it up to our supervisor and said he wanted a raise. Our supervisor explained to him that I got hired at a higher rate because I had more experience, went to college. I don't know what not finishing a broadcasting degree has anything to do with being a chair factory floater, and because I was going to be doing harder tasks and tasks that only one other person does. He became obsessed with the fact that I got paid more than him, telling everyone who would listen that he works 10 times harder than me and that he should not get paid more than me. Throughout the week, he got more and more angry to the point of not being able to talk about anything else. Today, he went to our supervisor's office and demanded they pay him more than me. I don't know the full details, but I do know they fired him and worried about him returning with a vengeance. So much so that I've been told this is the first time they've locked the doors of the factory in at least 40 years. And this, friends, is why you do not discuss salaries at work. Moving on. Anon E. Mouse replied, You didn't freak up. Not only is it legal to discuss your wage with your coworkers, everyone should. That's how you all help ensure everyone is paid equitably. Frankly, everyone should know how much everyone else is making. Employers don't want you to know so they can continue to pay employees less than what they deserve. Edit. Corrected employers to employees in the last sentence. Alright everybody, that is all the time we have for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and comment down below. And if you want to check out any of our other videos, click the video on the right. I got nothing else for you. I'll see you all next time.